Hey guys, this is Combatant 5, and I'm back here with Kerbal Space Program. So today we're actually going to be starting our career save, and we're going to go over here to Start Game, and we're going to go to Resume Saved. Not going to Sandbox, not going to Andrew, we're going to YouTube Career. So this is where we're going to be working with career mode for this series. Now you can see same place, except we've got the tech tree this time. So we've got Start, we've got a Command Pod Mark 1, an LVT-30 liquid fuel engine, an RT-10 solid fuel booster, a FTL-7, or not FTL-700, just a fuel tank girder, Communicatron 16, Mark 16 parachute, and a lithium tank. That's part of Interstellar mod. I'm not going to be using that in this series. Maybe later on, once I've gotten you guys a little bit more familiar. So here we've got our second tier. We've got our FLT-400 tanks. Now that's actually twice as big as the tank in the Start. Basically what happens is that the previous one is half as big as the next one up. So basically, yeah, that's half as big as the FLT-400. And then the one to the right, the FLT-100 is actually half as big as the FLT-200. We've got a mystery goo container and a decoupler. So I want that decoupler. So basically what I did is I went and I got a command pod, stuck it there with nothing else, and I just hit launch and I EVA jub. And we got this problem with loading different. If you go on EVA, you lag, and that happens. So waited, got him back in, recovered. So now we've got science. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to buy this next tier of science. And you can see we've got three more options. We've got survivability, which is going to give us some parachutes. We've got stability, which will give us our radial decoupler, which is really a very handy thing. And then we've got advanced rocketry, not advanced rocketry, but the next tier of rocketry. And go back over to show you guys, we got more parachutes. That's actually another mod. I may not use that. It's just another parachute for your guys. But I really want the decoupler there in stability. General rocketry is the one up there. Okay. So yeah, that's going to be coming later. But right now I'm going to sit down and I'm going to build this this rocket. And you can see I got the parachute there, I've got a stack decoupler, and basically as I go I'm going to do the staging. Normally I forget to do staging and I get out there and I just kind of drop back into the VAB to do it. But here today I'm going to actually do it beforehand, and you can see I'm going over to science to get our science stuff. I'm going to do some science in space. It's excellent. And we've got the LVT-30. That actually does not have any capability for thrust vectoring, so it's going to be a little bit harder to control. So you see I fixed that staging again. I'm going to set it up to stage with every stage. It's going to basically activate the engine as well. That's what I did with this. So we're going to just kind of wait for me to finish doing this. And it's kind of tedious with these smaller tanks because you don't really get the FLT-8 or the FLT-800 until the next rocketry thing. So you can see here I didn't have a radial decoupler, so I improvised. This is actually something I saw on our Kerbal Space Program over on Reddit. It's a great idea. I'm not going to take credit for it though, as much as I'd like to. So you can see you gotta fiddle with it a little bit, but eventually you find the sweet spot where you can attach to the decoupler. And once you can do that, basically it gives you a tier 2 radial decoupler, which really does not do much good because There's just not a whole lot of stuff to attach to the side yet, and you can't do what's called asparagus staging, and I'll explain asparagus staging at a later time. But you can see adjusting this again, and yeah, so this is ready to go actually. Just kind of checking over a few things, and yeah, we've got some weird stuff that my editor wanted to do. So we're going to go ahead and fire it up. And we are up. We're off. Now, in reality, I don't think that a design like this would actually work. I think that you would end up crushing the fuel tank there. But I'm not going to complain. It works in Kerbal Space Program. That doesn't mean that it would work in actuality. So we're going to climb up, and eventually, around about 12,000 is what I did for this rocket, I started my gravity turn. Now, the gravity turn is basically you're going to roll over to the east. Generally, you want to go to the east with your orbits, just because it's with, well, yeah, it's with, no, it's actually against, I'm sorry, it's against rotation. So in reality, if you're going against the Earth's rotation, eventually you will be pulled down, whereas if you go to the west, you'll be pushed out. You'll eventually get to escape the Earth's SOI, or sphere of influence. And you can see I basically let it climb up. I was going to do my gravity turn a little bit earlier, but I did not. I missed that 10,000 mark because I was doing science. And so we're getting up to about 12,000, and then I started my gravity turn. So in this game, you really got to pay attention. Granted, I was able to let SAS do a lot of the work, but it was a little bit difficult at parts because it really wants to kind of do a downward push. You got to kind of pull it up constantly, or else it kind of wants to nose down and just kind of go towards the ground. It really did not want to fly, and I think that's because I have a little bit too much mass on one side, but that was because I didn't have any radial mount parachutes, so we're going to make do with what we've got. You can see I'm doing more science. The goo seems to be getting very cold now. Yeah, that tends to happen. And I forgot that I had that open, and I didn't hit transmit, so yeah, so we're going to go ahead and go over to our map view, and we'll get to see what our orbit looks like. You can see I've got a slight inclination, which inclination is basically the angle off of the equator that your orbit is going to travel. For example, this is probably about a probably not even a 2-degree inclination, so this is a pretty good launch. Generally, I can get it like down to less than 1 degree of inclination, and I'm going to go ahead and set up a maneuver node. And what we ended up with was a periaps. Well, I actually didn't look here, but yeah, you can see line up there, get it set up to where it's going to launch, and do a few burns to adjust that, or to adjust the apoapse. Your apoapse is your highest point in your orbit, and your lowest point is going to be your periaps, so you're going to hear me use that a lot. Then also another phrase I'm going to use is delta V. This burn took 1174 to do. Now basically what delta V is the amount of energy required to alter a trajectory. In this case, it's going to be what we're going to use to alter our orbit. Whether we be doing a Hamann transfer, which is basically adjusting your orbit so that you will intercept a target, or whether it be just burning to deorbit your spacecraft. Whatever you're doing, you're using delta V. I'm not going to go into the math. If you want me to go into the math, I will, but I'm not going to right now. This is kind of just a basic. Okay, this is the basics of doing a launch. So you can see we're working up slowly, trying to get that as close, and I actually overburned this, I believe. Yeah, I overburned it by about 1 meter per second. And you can see we ended up with an 84-kilometer apoapse and a 73-kilometer periapse. And we're going to go ahead, and this is going to zoom in, and it's going to get to show me doing science. It's not going to actually show Jeb doing what Jeb does best. And Jeb's going to go float around in space on his RCS pack, which, curiously enough, we haven't actually unlocked the reaction control system. And the way reaction controls work is you basically you basically shoot like compressed air into space, and it will move you around. But you can see he's off structure right now, and he's kind of just floating around, enjoying himself with his 1200 Delta V pack. Basically, they've got 1200 meters per second of Delta V. So basically, he's very set. And there goes that. I really need to alter that in my next video so it won't do that. Not really doing anything important here. So what I ended up trying to do was I was going to try and land as close to the Space Center as possible, but that actually didn't end up working. The issue was I was going to try and get my periapse down to about 31 kilometers or about 30 kilometers, and I got it down to about 30. And what I was going to do was I was going to put it over the continent across the way from the Kerbal Space Center. You can see I'm checking there to make sure that it's over, and I overshot, and no, actually I didn't. But yeah, so that ended up not working out. I'm going to end up landing on the other continent about, well, actually to the west of the Space Center in the desert. So yeah, I kind of flew around for a bit, I did an orbit. And basically it's time to bring Jeb home. So we're going to wait for our spacecraft, and you can see I'm trying not to maneuver a lot, and I'm using time acceleration to stop my rotation because I just showed you there I have virtually no battery storage right now because I have no solar panels or anything. I'm working with exclusively Tech 2 parts. You can see there's my burn. I just kind of burned to get my periapse fairly low. Actually, I didn't check it, so that may have been part of the issue. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to re-enter, and we're going to get to about 69 kilometers, and we're going to jettison the service module and orient the capsule to a retrograde facing, well, basically, so the underbelly is facing retrograde. Retrograde is against your movement. Prograde is towards your movement. And you can see here just showing that my periapse is coming down. And right now it's saying that, oh, hey, we're going to be right on track to land at the Space Center. Well, one thing I didn't account for was the fact that we're going to be a little bit off. There's where I wanted to land because with the inclination, it took me a little bit north of the Space Center from that vantage point. But it didn't end up working. As I said, you can see here, I'm just kind of showing you, it's going to pull it down. That's the aerodynamics at work, and it's going to pull the spacecraft down, stop it with the SAS, stability control, and we're just kind of going to wait. Re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Well, not the Earth, but Kerbin's atmosphere. And we are going to land off. And yeah, we're actually going to end up landing right on this perimeter that's coming up. And another thing that I noticed when I was doing this is I noticed that it was glitching and it was showing the moon's orbit outside of the map mode. So that was an issue that I noticed. But anyways, we're coming down, and we're going to land right about here. And we're hopefully not going to over-G Jeb. Jeb didn't take too many Gs. He kind of probably got hurt when the chute opened. But beyond that, and again, it's going to zoom in on nothing because I don't know why. And we're going to wait. And we're drifting. And the chute opens about 500 feet above the ground. So, good way of telling whether you're 500 feet above the ground. There's the chute. And we're going to drift down slowly now. Hopefully not hit too hard. And in fact, we did not. So, drifting to the ground. You can tell Jeb's very happy to be back. He's probably very excited to be in orbit, though. He's the first Kerbal to go to orbit and do an EVA bit. And since we're in the desert, I figured we may as well do some science while we're here. So I had Jeb hop out, collect some science, and get back in for recovery. And we're going to launch a recovery team, probably an aircraft. It's something that I've noticed. You can fly an airplane to the North Pole and you will be recovered from anywhere on Kerbal, and it just doesn't make sense. But I'm not going to dispute that for right now. It's a nice thing that happens. Please, squad, don't take it away. So yeah, you can see we got 40 science out of this mission just from recovering it. Well, 25 science. We got 10 for returning it from orbit, 6.6 from from the EVA report over the ocean, while flying over the deserts, and 6.0 while over the water, and again some other stuff while we were doing that. So I went ahead and got stability because I didn't want to have to do the jury-rigged radial decouplers anymore. It really was very annoying, and just to show you what we can get, I really wish that I had that tri-coupler there. That would have been very nice. And I went ahead and got the other engine. I didn't bother with the chutes. For right now, I'm going to do one more mission with that, and that'll be on my time. I won't bore you with that, but we're going to pick this up next time. I'm Combatant 5. Thanks for watching.